Carl Jung believed most friendships are built on illusion. Here's why. The friend you trust may only know the mask you perform. The question Jung forces into the open. Carl Jung's psychology turns friendship into something far more uncomfortable than a question of loyalty. It asks whether the people closest to us are relating to who we really are, or to the version of ourselves we have learned to perform. That distinction matters, because modern friendship often feels intimate on the surface, while remaining carefully managed underneath. The central issue is not that every friend is secretly false or every relationship is a transaction. That would be too simple. Jung's deeper warning is sharper. If people do not understand their own hidden motives, denied traits and social masks, then even sincere relationships can become distorted without anyone consciously meaning harm. The persona is where the illusion begins. Jung used the idea of the persona to describe the social face people present to the world. It is the version of the self built for approval, status, safety, and belonging. In ordinary life, this mask is useful. It helps people function at work, avoid unnecessary conflict, and adapt to different social settings. The problem begins when the mask becomes too convincing. A person may become so identified with being pleasant, strong, clever, loyal, generous, or detached that they lose contact with everything inside them that does not fit the performance. Friendship then becomes a meeting between edited versions of people, rather than a real encounter between complicated human beings. This is why some friendships can last for years and still feel strangely shallow. People know the routines, stories, jokes, and familiar emotional roles, but they may not know the private resentment, envy, fear, shame, or vulnerability underneath. The friendship looks stable because the performance is stable. That does not mean the connection is deep. The same pattern appears in behavioral psychology explained, where the most damaging patterns are often the ones people repeat because they feel safe in the short term. The mask protects people from rejection, but it also blocks the honesty that would make closeness real. The shadow is the part friendship usually avoids. Jung's shadow is the part of the personality a person does not want to recognize. It can contain aggression, jealousy, selfishness, neediness, and resentment, but it can also contain confidence, ambition, creativity, or strength that someone was taught to suppress. The shadow is not simply evil. It is the rejected material of the self. This matters because friendship usually depends on a flattering agreement. People want to be seen as good friends, reasonable people, loyal partners, and decent members of a group. The shadow threatens that image. So instead of admitting uncomfortable truths, people often bury them, deny them, or push them onto someone else. That is where friendship becomes fragile. The friend who is always supportive may secretly resent being needed. The friend who appears calm may be storing anger. The friend who constantly criticizes selfishness may be fighting their own denied selfishness. Jung's point is not that everyone is malicious. It is that people can harm relationships most when they are unconscious of what is driving them. This is what makes Jung's theory so useful and so unpleasant. It removes the comforting idea that betrayal always comes from obvious bad character. Sometimes the damage comes from people who believe they are being good, while acting from motives they have never been brave enough to examine. Projection turns friends into mirrors. Projection may be Jung's most devastating idea for relationships. It describes the way people place their own denied qualities, fears, and wounds onto others, then react as if they are seeing reality clearly. A person who cannot face their own need for attention may become furious at attention-seeking friends. A person who denies their own manipulative habits may see manipulation everywhere. This does not mean every criticism is projection. Some people really are selfish, dishonest, cruel, or unreliable. The danger is that projection contaminates perception. It makes people react not only to what happened, but to the private emotional material the situation has activated inside them. That is why some friendship conflicts feel wildly disproportionate. One comment becomes an insult. One delay becomes abandonment. One disagreement becomes betrayal. The emotional intensity may reveal something real, but not always something real about the other person. Sometimes it reveals the unfinished work inside the person reacting. The same principle sits behind the let them theory explained, where the deeper lesson is not emotional coldness, but evidence-based relationships. Jung would push that even further. Do not just watch what other people reveal. Watch what your reactions reveal about you. The group can become another mask. Jung's collective unconscious is more debated than his ideas about persona and shadow, but its cultural force remains obvious. He believed human beings inherit deep psychological patterns, including archetypes that shape how people imagine roles, power, belonging, and identity. Whether taken literally or symbolically, the idea explains something recognizable about friendship groups. Groups rarely remain neutral collections of individuals. Someone becomes the rescuer. Someone becomes the victim. Someone becomes the leader. Someone becomes the clown. Someone becomes the difficult one. These roles can feel natural, but they can also become cages. Once a person is fixed inside a group role, the friendship may stop allowing change. If the funny one becomes serious, people feel uncomfortable. If the reliable one needs help, people feel burdened. If the quiet one speaks directly, people treat it as aggression. The group protects its familiar pattern, even when the individual has outgrown it. That is one reason major life changes expose weak friendships. Success, grief, illness, money, status, romance, and failure all disrupt the old roles. A genuine friend can update their picture of you. A fragile friend needs you to remain useful, familiar, and emotionally convenient. Why modern friendship makes Jung feel more relevant. The modern world has made the persona more powerful. People now perform across work channels, dating apps, social media, group chats, and public-facing profiles. The self is no longer only presented in person. It is curated, edited, archived, and judged in real time. That does not make people less human. It makes the pressure heavier. The modern person is constantly invited to turn identity into display. Friendship then becomes vulnerable to the same forces: optics, status, comparison, emotional branding, and selective honesty. People may be surrounded by contact while starving for recognition. This is where Jung's psychology connects with the wider modern problem explored in AI, is changing how humans think. The issue is not only technology, it is behavior. When systems reward performance, people become better at performing and worse at being known. The hidden cost is loneliness that does not look like loneliness. It is possible to have messages, friends, followers, and plans while still feeling unseen. Jung gives language to that feeling. He suggests the ache may come from living too far from the real self, then wondering why nobody else can find it. The hardest truth is also the useful one. The bleak reading of Jung is that true friendship is almost impossible. The better reading is that true friendship is demanding. It requires more than loyalty, shared humor, history, or convenience. It requires the willingness to become less false with yourself first. That means noticing when you are performing goodness rather than practicing honesty. It means asking why certain people trigger you so strongly. It means admitting that some of your warmth may contain need, some of your generosity may contain control, and some of your judgment may contain envy. That is not a pleasant inventory, but it is the beginning of adult friendship. It also means seeing others with more precision. A friend is not automatically fake because they have a mask. Everyone has one. The question is whether they can ever lower it, repair honestly, tolerate your complexity, and allow the relationship to survive moments when the idealized image cracks. Jung's darkest warning about friendship is not that people never care. It is that care alone does not guarantee truth. Until people face the shadow behind their own smile, many relationships will remain emotionally convincing, but psychologically incomplete.